Hello everyone. So this is my inaugural reading and I pulled a few cards in advance, or rather they fell out while I was shuffling, and I decided to make them the 3 piles, and then this card fell out as well. This is from the White Light Oracle deck of Alana Fairchild. So as this is the inaugural reading, I'm just going to read this one out as I feel it sets the energy for this new venture. Spirit Owl of 852 Hertz. Recalibration to a higher order of divine purpose is in progress. It is not always a smooth ride, but it is safe to be fearless as you gently hold space for new ways of thinking, living, and seeing to emerge. You are encouraged to let go of opinions and belief systems that cannot support you in higher frequency states. You shall soon recognize a truth that cuts through confusion and frees you to proceed with love, peace, and higher understanding. Spirit Owl is the wisdom bearer, the one who perceives the intended meaning underlying words and the truth behind appearances. Even in darkness, Spirit Owl senses subtle movements with accuracy. The heightened senses of Spirit Owl are akin to the supernatural perception of the higher self. Your higher self sees through illusion and with compassion. It astutely recognizes the agendas of ego and tunes into the empowering energies of the universe to find a constructive way to express its loving purpose. Spirit Owl enhances your connection to your higher self, guiding you beneath the compelling nature of appearances, where a vastly different and spiritually empowering perspective is available to you. From such heightened awareness, you can accurately intuit the complex drives at work in yourself and others. This makes it easier to have compassion, outwit negativity, and make decisions that are helpful and healing, rather than adding to the confusion or disorder. When Spirit Owl appears in a reading, a mystery is soon to be solved, and the ensuing clarity will bring relief and spiritual reward. As Spirit Owl is a message bearer, this oracle is also a positive omen for your future, a sign that a seemingly impossible or impenetrable situation is unraveling. 852 Hertz is the frequency of higher self-connection, which favors the clearing of the mind and an awakening of genuine insight and higher understanding. The frequency of 852 Hertz opens one to perceive light and communicate with the realms of higher light beings. With such clarity of mind, it is easy to recognize lower-level beings who do not operate from unconditional love and pure wisdom. There is no attraction to such beings, but a compassionate attitude toward them. What attracts the soul at this high frequency is the pure light of wisdom, grace, and spiritual liberation, to which the soul is drawn for nourishment and restoration. When we are thirsty, we do not reach for an empty glass, we reach for one that is full. Seek nourishment that can truly offer what you need. There is no sense in seeking something another cannot provide you because of their spiritual limitations. You can only find it from those who are able to give it. Keep this in mind as you awaken the inner eye of wisdom. Seek the purest love to nurture your heart and share it freely. I misread that and thought it said share it fiercely. I like that. Seek the purest love to nurture your heart and share it fiercely, but also freely. 852 Hertz is a love-enhancing, freedom-generating frequency of the visionary. The third eye of the soul is the awakened inner eye, which sees things as they are without fear, because there is knowledge that healing is possible. We are ready for such vision when our hearts are ready to be free. Then we are prepared to stop fantasizing, start creating, and act with more wisdom because we have more clarity. The Oracle of Spirit Owl of 852 Hertz reconnects you to your authentic soul path and higher purpose. It is a sign that your mind is tuning in to something true. It augurs clear seeing and higher understanding. You will be freed from a struggle and set on a creative, empowering, and effective path of manifestation. This is a blessing of creative psychological fire. Trust that the more you let go, the more you will experience renewal and stunning spiritual rebirth. The past is truly over, and a new era is dawning. Well, that feels like a pretty good card as I start a new venture here. And the practice is about connecting to the breath, visualizing grounding in deeper to the Earth Mother, and then feeling into spaciousness in that space. Get out our cards here. So thank you, Spirit Owl. I'll just put you over here so you can watch over our reading. And so here are the 3 cards that fell out while I was shuffling. I've got Raven, Wild Boar, and Lizard. And just to add, I did shuffle many decks in preparation for this, and these are the cards that fell out from this deck. No cards fell out from the other decks, so that also feels like a message to follow. And so with the Raven, I think we'll put this shell. This beautiful little delicate shell. Got a little bit of, I think it's obsidian, to put with Boar. And then with Lizard, we've got this stone that I picked up in the Utah desert, which I think is jasper. And we're just going to have a look at what these energies are. Actually, we'll put that in the reading part. So here's where you choose your piles, pile 1, pile 2, or pile 3. And we'll see you over in the reading. Thank you for joining me. Raven has come up for me multiple times today, including while I was driving home not too long before this is filmed. And there were 2 ravens on the road that I saw them up ahead, and they seemed to have something, and they were right on the edge of the road in someone's driveway. And I live in a rural place, so they were sort of, obscured by the forest, but I could tell there were 2 of them, and I thought they were ravens, not crows. They looked big. And then as I got closer, there were indeed 2 ravens right beside the road, sort of gathered around a stump. And I'm not sure what exactly they were doing, but I was so distracted that I swerved in surprise and caught myself and realized there was another car behind me, so I had to keep going. But they were right there. 2 ravens are Odin's messengers in Norse tradition, and the raven has deep significance for me and is a primary character in the Coast Salish indigenous peoples of this area, whose land I am currently on. And so I'm consulting the medicine cards here. These are the medicine cards, and for Raven it says the keyword is magic, and that throughout time Raven has carried the medicine of magic in many cultures across the planet. Those who fear Raven may do so because they've been dabbling in areas in which they had no knowledge, and a spell may have backfired on them. Raven magic is a powerful medicine that can give you the courage to enter the darkness of the void, which is home to all that is not yet in form. The void is called the Great Mystery. Great Mystery existed before all other things came into being. Great Spirit lives inside the void and emerged from the Great Mystery. Raven is the messenger of the void. So in this culture as well, in this nation that these cards herald from, which I believe is based in the southern United States, Raven is also a messenger. If Raven appears in your spread, you are about to experience a change in consciousness. This may involve walking inside the Great Mystery on another path at the edge of time. You've earned the right to see and experience a little more of life's magic. So I'll leave that there. There's a lot more information and some suggested practices as well. We're going to take Raven as our significator card. We're just going to move you over here, my friend Raven. And now we're going to go to the tarot cards. So we'll get some energy. And so we're asking, what does pile number 1 need to know most right now? What does pile number 1 need to know? What is the message for pile number 1? What message does Raven carry for pile number 1 today? Ooh. Oops, I think that goes that way. We've got 10 of Wands, it looks like. The art of shuffling on camera. I imagine one becomes better at it through time. We got the Ace of Cups here. 10 of Wands, 10 of Swords, Ace of Cups, and the 7 of Cups. Let's see if this can bring me back to center. I'm nervous. It needs to be said, I'm nervous. Ten of Wands. Okay, so this is the man carrying the 10 staves, and it can signify oppression, honor and good faith, or oppression. It can also mean fortune or gain or success, or it can mean disguise. So in the picture, in the traditional Rider-Waite, the character is he's carrying the 10 wands, and so the wands are the fiery, passionate suit, and so by the time he gets to the 10 of wands, he's carried a lot of that energy and he's feeling burdened by it. And so there might be a sense here of having gone with one's passions to the point of sort of gathering so many of those passions and having spent so much energy on them that there's a feeling of weariness or oppression, possibly also financial gain along with it, but definitely some feeling of being weighed down by those passions, by those staves that one is carrying. Moving over here, we've got the 10 of Swords, and this picture here is evocative and probably needs no explanation. So the 10 of Swords is a pinnacle of the Swords energies. So the Swords are air, intellect, rationality. They can be quite cutthroat, and so the 10 of Swords usually shows a figure being pierced by 10 swords, and I'm finding it a little more intense that it's a cow, let's see, a beast, and it's being pierced in a fairly gruesome way here, so a bit of a trigger warning here. And so it has all the meanings that you would associate with that of pain, affliction, tears, sadness, desolation. So some of you might be coming out of a very hard time, facing some difficulties. And then over here we've got Ace of Cups. So Ace of Cups is the beginning of accessing feelings. It can mean the very start of moving into something inspiring, graceful, good. It's sort of the solo path of moving into the energies that we associate with the Suit of Cups. So before there can be romance and togetherness and camaraderie, there has to be an openness in oneself So I would say this is the beginning of moving from feeling oppressed and then feeling desolate and, pierced through the heart, into a reopening, into coming through that, into a reopening to a shift. So, I mean, these cards next to these cards speak to me of, this is sort of the Wheel of Fortune here, right here. And so from the Ace, we're going right into the Six of Cups, represented here by this beautiful tree. So this is usually the card of children playing, an older child and a younger child, sort of playing in a village. And so for the younger children, we've got the tree, possibly some of these outer roots. And then, this tree gives a sense of stability and going deep, deep down. Same as the Six of Cups can mean looking at childhood, happy times in childhood, a feeling of rootedness. And in this case, that rootedness has given growth to this beautiful tree that has the appearance of being quite stable. And the colorfulness of the roots suggests, that the fun of the Six of Cups card, the happy memories, nostalgia. And so while this card would usually tend to mean looking back into childhood experiences or past experiences of feeling belonging, family, community, I would say coming after the Ace of Cups and after this sort of transition, that this could herald experiencing some of those energies anew, freshly. And so possibly this is all, the suffering here is moving into a new sense of community, a new opening up to emotions which enable the joining of cups with a community and experiencing lighthearted, good, friendly times again. Let's pull some more cards and see what sort of modification we can get. So find out what that Ten of Wands is about and what we can do with those energies. So that's beautiful. The Ten of Wands is the burden, but then we've got the Chariot with choices here. And so the Chariot traditionally has a charioteer. Here we've got a horse, but the horse can, there aren't even just two directions in this card. You can pick your path forward, and you might even say that there's a multitude of directions, a multitude of timelines even, that can be chosen as a path out of this burden. And so might be worth feeling into the heart, into the emotions, and acting from a place of intuition in choosing which path to take to reduce burdens or reduce the suffering that comes from burdens. Decide whether to consciously continue with them or not. For the Ten of Swords, we've got the Two of Swords modifying. And the Two of Swords is the energy of... We've gone a bit off the screen here. Let's move these up. So we've got the Two of Swords modifying the Ten of Swords. And so two swords can refer to balance. Again, choices, another card of choices. But attempting to balance out the negative and the positive, for example. There's not a lot of positive in this card, except that it is the culmination of the sword suit, which suggests that, again, there's a Wheel of Fortune energy transitioning out of that suffering into a new phase, sort of back around all the way to the Ace of Cups. And so this suggests that the way out of that suffering is to find some balance, there might be something that's quite imbalanced that's causing this suffering, and looking to any energies that are a little bit askew in the life, in pile 1, and bringing those back into balance. And I would say even having recourse to things that encourage balance in your life. Anything, I mean, because it's swords, I would tend to think any sort of mental exercises. So this would be a card of using discernment, using the mind to discern what needs to be brought back into balance. So we've got some energy of the heart, perhaps choosing a heart-based path, but also using the mind's discernment to help come out of that path of suffering, and that will bring us around to the Ace of Cups. And the Ace of Cups is modified by, let's see what we got here. Yep, there it is. The Ten of Pentacles. So the Ten of Pentacles, the Pentacles are an earth suit. They represent the material world. They can represent money, actual coins. They can represent physical belongings or connection to the earth, things that we nurture and grow. Harvesting. So in the Ten of Pentacles, there is a sense of legacy. The word for this card would be legacy. And so those 10 pentacles represent a generation's worth of wealth that is about to be gifted forward to the next generation. And so if one can come out of this suffering and find the path of the heart represented by this Ace of Cups, or reconnecting to the emotions and finding one's way back to a place of innocence and joy, then my take on this is that it will allow pile 1, it will allow you to gift of yourself to the next generation, to sort of future communities. That can mean, literally the next generation of your family, but it can also mean future generations of humans, future generations within your subculture or sub-community. Yeah. Okay, and let's find what we've got for the Six of Cups. So what exactly is the Six of Cups representing for pile 1? Okay, we've got some more cups. So we've gone from the 6 to the 7. So the seven cups represent dreams. They can represent, sort of like the moon card, they can represent illusion or sort of a Neptunian lack of touch with reality, but they can also represent all of the good qualities of Neptune, specifically art, music, inspiration, the muse, creativity. So the sort of beginning steps of creative projects and birthing new ideas. And so in the traditional deck, these cups are full of what look like dream characters, but which could also be, different muses. And some of those muses might be positive experiences. Some of them might be, places where your cup has fallen over and run out. And all of them might be potent sources of new ideas that can move you forward into the next phase. And so I think we're going to pull an astro card. We'll just see if we can get a last little bit of maybe timing or just some summing up energy for pile 1. See if we can wrap this up for pile 1. What does pile 1 still need to know? Virgo. So perhaps in Virgo season, you might look to a shift. That's a few months off. See what we've got on the bottom of the deck here. So on the bottom we've got Aquarius. So we've already come through Aquarius season. And the Aquarius full moon would be just before Virgo season. So this would be August. That would be September. So possibly looking to a shift in the fall. And then Virgo here, this card is pointing out that Virgo season is the time of harvest, and Virgo is rooted to the earth. It's the sign of the priestess, and it suggests a connection to cycles, the seasons, and beginning the new cycle when the winter ends. So this is going into the winter, harvesting, going into winter in anticipation of a new spring. And so I would say look to Virgo season for a shift in the cycle. And it does feel like that's a long way off to me. I'm sort of feeling like I don't want to leave it there. So let's see if we can pull maybe one more card here. Is there anything that pile 1 can do to encourage a shift in these pretty intense energies a little bit sooner? Daughter of Wands, let's pull another one for balance here. Follower, 2 of Swords, lesson and balance. Well, we've got a couple more animal friends here to guide. So we've got the 6 of Wands, it looks like. Victory, success, rising up. This is a card of being quite successful. Usually showing essentially someone on a horse coming home from war with the spoils of war, it seems. So essentially success from efforts that have been expended. You know, the trials and tribulations are over, and out of them has come great success. The Daughter of Wands is a free spirit, a truly visionary creature. She usually waits until later to settle down or start a family as she's busy with her career. She can be stubborn and much stronger than she looks. As with all the Wands family, the daughter makes a dangerous enemy. This card can also represent a woman going through a transformation or spiritual breakthrough. And I would say we can extrapolate and make that non-gender specific. Can extrapolate to anyone accessing their feminine energies, perhaps, which we all have in us. So perhaps there's some kind of divine feminine connected breakthrough that's happening, or perhaps those are energies that you want to explore in the near future. Yeah. Faithful, a lover, an envoy, a message bearer. And the Wands, of course, are the fiery, passionate suit of passions. And the snake looks like she has certainly mastered passion and knows how to work with it. She's got a little lemniscate happening, suggesting again cycles, the infinity symbol, and success. So I hope that assists pile 1, and we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much. Hi, pile 2. Welcome to your reading. 48, Wild Boar Confrontation. So wild boar, the spirit of wild boar came to a warrior who had been caught telling a lie by his elders and who was vanished. Wild boar came to him in a dream, and it was enraged that the young man had broken his warrior's vows by lying. It told him he would first have to face and conquer the self-important and deceitful beast within himself if he hoped to survive their combat. The young warrior vowed to honor the truth from that moment forward. He faced the wild boar that day and killed the beast. He kept the tusk of his adversary as a lifelong reminder to always confront the weaknesses within himself. So boar medicine, it's about confronting anything or anyone that you've been avoiding, going into your warrior nature, finding courage, finishing projects that may have been abandoned, and stopping procrastination to be fully present and mindful. And it doesn't quite say it explicitly, but it sounds like it's about truth and honesty as well. So, wild boar energy. That is some strong medicine. Let's move you over here, wild boar. And our pretty little obsidian. Starting off with wild boar. Hopefully that resonates with you, pile 2. If it doesn't, then please feel free to choose a different pile. And so let's see what energies wild boar has. What messages wild boar has for pile 2 today. So this is my very first online tarot reading, and so please be patient with me if I stumble and need to refer to books as we go. Oh, all these cards just jumped right out, so I'm just gonna lay them out and take them as the cards we were meant to have here. Here we go, 3 of Wands, envisioning the future. So the 3 of Wands can indicate support from others, forming a sense of self with that support, values, morals, and moving away from the support to rely on oneself for guidance, clarifying your own goals, and leaving behind the opinions of others. Let's just have a look at the Rider-Waite here. Okay, so this is the man looking out from the cliff at ships passing over the sea. So enterprise, strength, trade, discovery, commerce. Those are his ships bearing his merchandise, which are sailing over the sea. So this refers to the merchant who is waiting for his ships to come in. And so there's very much a sense here of going out on one's own, engaging in one's own enterprise, being well-resourced to do it. So that's a nice energy. I suppose there is a bit of a transition here from being cast out from the tribe and then going it alone and expecting success. I'd say this is not quite achieving success, but expecting that success will follow. Then we've got the World, and the World card. The World card is the end of a cycle. It's the last card of the major arcana, and the World is usually represented with, in the Rider-Waite, it's got a woman inside an oval, which is a wreath of laurel, which is meant to symbolize the womb being born again. So it's the last card of the cycle. It begins with the Fool, ends with the World, and so by the time you're at the World, you're at the pinnacle of the major arcana. So we've gone through all the archetypes, and then you're at the end of the cycle, having learned the lessons of each of those cards along the way, the archetypes along the way, ready to emerge out into a new world and begin the cycle again. And so it's a card of rebirth, starting a new cycle. And so there's definitely a narrative here from being cast out, fighting the wild boar within, to building something up by oneself, and then a culmination here. And then over here we've got Father of Swords, so that would be the King of Swords energy. And the King of Swords would be the pinnacle of the energies represented by swords, which are intellect, rationality, the air, it's the air suit, the suit of the air, mind, thinking, head over heart, discernment, judgment. So the Father of Swords would be quite a keen archetype, stern, possibly stern, working in those sort of more stern masculine energies, possibly in, I want to say in business, but that might be more pentacles. But certainly rulership, authority, rulership, sort of Capricorn energies, I would say, of, working with authority or representing authority. And so perhaps this is a continued narrative. Perhaps pile 2, you're finding yourself moving into positions of authority where you are having to be mindful and possibly stern with others. And then we've got the Wheel of Fortune, and there it is. And so with the Wheel of Fortune, we've got the turning of the cycle, and that will potentially bring us back around to a new level of challenge and repeating a cycle. Then modifying our 3 of Wands, we've got the 5 of Swords. So the 5 of Swords is traditionally a bit of a stalemate. Just referring back here to make sure I've got that right. So the 5 of Swords, you can see the worm has been cut here, so it's sort of a fight. There's a lot of ego in the traditional card, the Rider-Waite card for the 5 of Swords. There's sort of, one person looking as though they think they've won the fight, but really there are no winners. The fight has just sort of decimated everyone. Pardon me, this needs to be up here so you can see it. So the worm has been cut, and then, they will survive, these 2 pieces of the worm. There's a heart beating over here and a heart beating over here, but they've come undone, and there's no going back from some hard choices. And so perhaps in the spirit of independence, perhaps there are some choices that have been made or are in danger of being made that that could be a bit damaging with still survival, but might want to feel into other options than cutting the worm in half. Explore whether there are other ways to achieve the independence and goals of the 3 of Wands. Let's try pulling another card to modify that. Let's see what we've got here. Well, we've got a cocoon here. Some incubation with the 8 of Swords, moving right up the Swords chain of hierarchy here. And so this is the woman bound and hoodwinked with the swords of the card above her. Can mean bad news, crisis, power in trammels, conflict, calumny, potentially sickness. Looks in this card as if the swords are threatening to cut off the cocoon before the butterfly emerges. So I would say there's a note of caution here. And just, what is being built is in danger of being cut down. And so might want to slow down with the discernment and judgment, and possibly invect a little heart, and just be cautious about what might be happening to the hearts involved in the situation. I'm just going to put that one on top there. And then we'll move on to our world card and see what is modifying the world card for pile 2. Oh my goodness. I'm going to toss these back on here, and then we'll just pull the ones, we'll pull them in order here. Temperance. Okay, so when going out into the world, it's a big wild place out there in that world beyond the womb. And there are a lot of temptations and pleasures and extremes and wild emotions to be had, and looks like perhaps some temperance may be needed to navigate through all of the amazing, wild and wonderful experiences that the world has to offer. So we've got a heron here, and the heron appears to be adding some water drops to this fire, which is interesting because, as anyone knows who's tried to put a fire out on their own stove, adding water to flames usually just makes the flames leap higher. So I'm not sure that that's really the tack to take, but that's what heron says to do in this card. And so the sentiment, of course, is, add a little, ensure that you're checking in with the emotions and feelings and grace, your sense of grace, diplomacy, and not just being swayed by that raging fire. Make sure it's got a little bit of, maybe those are salt water drops that might be quelling the fire a little bit, dampening it down. I happen to like passions and fire myself, but there is a time for temperance, to be sure. Oops, I've gone and shuffled, so I guess we're moving on. So with the Father of Swords, what modifies the Father of Swords for pile 2? What does pile 2 need to hear? Look at that, we've got the Daughter of Wands. That came up in the last reading for pile 1. And so the Daughter of Wands is I believe that's corresponding to the Page of Wands in the traditional deck. So the Daughter of Wands represents thought of as the page, then the Page of Wands would represent the sort of beginning stages. It's the first court card, and so that page would be sort of just getting a handle on the fiery energies of the Wands suit. And it's definitely got a bit of a theme with the colors of the wands coming through here. And so the Daughter of Wands can be a fierce enemy as well, but generally she'd be looking towards ensuring that looking towards passion and excitement and fun and energy, all the things you'd associate with fire and fiery energy. And she could be a lover, she could be a messenger, she could be bringing strange tidings. There's likely to be a feeling of faithfulness from her, which is interesting because I would have thought that the Page of Wands might have a bit of the player in them. Let's see if we've got any more in the Wild Unknown guidebook here. Visionary, passionate, free spirit, stubborn, stronger than she looks, busy with career, going through a sort of feminine-oriented spiritual breakthrough. So connecting with those fiery feminine energies, whatever your gender. And then let's go on over to the Wheel of Fortune and see what we've got modifying the Wheel of Fortune for pile 2. We've got 4 of Cups, and we also pulled up the Hanged Man in the guise of a bat, and the Daughter of Swords, and the 2 of Swords. We'll just put those back in the pile for now. So those influences are inflecting this 4 of Cups. So the 4 of Cups is the energies of satiety, but sort of beyond that into just having had enough. That's enough. So when, 3 of the cups are empty and there's a 4th being proffered, and that's just enough. The young man does not want to drink that 4th cup. He's had enough. He can't see why he would indulge in yet another cup of this elixir. And yeah, I'm curious what this rat is about. Let me just have a look here. See if we can get some guidance. Greed, discontent, apathy. It's interesting that a rat would be taken to symbolize greed. Rats are quite smart, and they're not really avaricious, in my experience. A message not to take situations for granted. That could certainly be a bit of rat energy. Rats cannot take anything for granted. They're kind of universally hated and shunted along to the next situation. It says, what are you truly longing for? Name it. And so let's see if we can get a couple of cards regarding timing and maybe where to take this next. So looks like there's some shifts happening here. There's definitely a sense of striking out on one's own, learning some perhaps difficult lessons. So we can see moving from the danger represented here of perhaps being too rooted in mind and making those sort of discerning, judgmental decisions. And maybe we want to move over here into a bit more temperance and temper that. The cutting of the potential sort of cuttingness of even words, and then going into looking over to the passionate side of things instead. This could be a successful businesswoman, could be a businessman as well, or a business non-binary person. And the energies of mastering that passion for business, if that's what we're talking about here, or going into the passion for whatever venture is happening here, and then just being cautious of the extreme of consuming too much, taking too much, overlooking that, if there are 4 cups, one rat does not need all 4 cups. There might be some sharing to be done, or some attention to, what else might be done with these cups rather than just making them a bed for a rat. So we've got the 4th house from the Astro deck. The 4th house is the house of the family, the ancestors. It's where the mycelial is located, the IC, which is the deepest midnight of the chart in astrology. And so that 4th house can refer to your home of your upbringing, your home of origin, your community of origin even, and your roots. And so this looks like it's sort of coming full circle from the wild boar energy. So perhaps there's a path home through this journey. It sort of looks like a hero's journey from the exile and the tackling of the boar, and then attempting to go out on one's own, facing some dangers, a little bit of learning some temperance out in the world, experiencing the world and exalting in it, but then learning a little bit of temperance along the way. And then this sort of keen eye, the keen judgment of the Father of Swords, bringing that home to the wand energy, the sort of passion and fun, and potential, still a little bit of danger there. Then we've got the turning of the wheel of fortune, and then just a final note of caution here of ensuring not to just keep that harvest for oneself, because those 4 cups will make you sick. If you have them all to yourself, it's much better to offer them to friends. Let's see if we can get maybe one or two final cards. I did end up pulling a couple of final cards for the first pile. So we've got 3 swords. That in the traditional Rider-Waite is the pierced heart. So that's an indication of some heartbreak, pain, sorrow. So it might be that going through that hero's journey, and even recognizing the desire to come home, to be home, there might be some longing there that causes a bit of heartbreak. And it would seem to me that this is the initial shock, and then there's a journey here working through that and coming back to perhaps that realization of wanting to go home might open one up to the true feeling behind this card of having 3 swords pierce through the heart, and opening this up, going into the emotions here, and perhaps starting to process some of that trauma. Let's see what we've got here. And then 2 of Swords, finishing it off with balance, seeking balance. So I'd say between these 2 cards there is some balance happening there. There is a sense of, if one can be honest about that pain, there might be a path home. And I don't necessarily mean home, physically home. Sometimes we can't physically go home. Sometimes home doesn't exist anymore, but we can go home in our hearts. We can create home for ourselves in our new, our new journey, our new world out there. And maybe that's the balance that needs to be sought here. Yeah, I do see this as a positive, forward moving energy. That's cool. All right, that is your reading, pile 2. I hope that serves, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Hi, pile 3. Welcome to your reading. Lizard sat lolling in the shadow of a big rock, shading himself from the desert sun. Snake crawled by, looking for some shadow to coil up in and rest. Snake watched Lizard for a while, as Lizard's eyeballs went side to side behind his enormous closed lids. Snake hissed to get Lizard's attention. Slowly, Lizard's dreaming eyes opened, and he saw Snake. "Snake, you scared me. What do you want?" Lizard cried. Snake spit his answer from his forked tongue. "Lizard, you were always getting the best shadow spots in the heat of the day. This is the only big rock for miles. Why don't you share your shade with me?" Lizard thought for a moment, then agreed. "Snake, you can share my shade spot, but you have to go to the other side of the rock, and you must promise not to interrupt me." Snake was getting annoyed. He hissed, "How could I bother you, Lizard? All you are doing is sleeping." Lizard smiled knowingly. "Oh, Snake, you are such a silly serpent. I'm not sleeping, I'm dreaming." Snake wanted to know what the difference was, so Lizard explained. "Dreaming is going into the future, Snake. I go to where future lives. You see, that is why I know you won't eat me today. I dreamed you, and I know you're full of mouse." Snake was taken aback. "Why, Lizard, you're exactly right. I wondered why you said you would share your rock. Lizard laughed to himself. Snake, he said, you are looking for shade, and I am looking for shadow. Shadow is where the dreams live. Lizard medicine is the shadow side of reality, where your dreams are reviewed before you decide to manifest them physically. If Lizard dreamed a space in your cards today, it may be time to look and see what is following along behind you. Is it your fears, your future trying to catch up to you, or is it the part of you that wants to ignore your weaknesses and humanness? Lizard may be telling you to pay attention to your dreams and their symbols. Make a dream log. Record what you remember. Lizard is the medicine of dreamers. Dreamers can always help you see the shadow. So pile 1 and pile 2 were fairly intense. I was sort of hoping for a bit of a lighter energy for pile 3, but it seems we're going into the shadows here. And so I've been using the Wild Unknown Tarot and sort of cross-referencing with the Rider-Waite, which I do know a bit better. And so we're just going to pull some cards here. We'll do a row of cards and then go into them. Just going to keep things in the upright position for today. Whoa, that one jumped out too. We'll keep this one for when we modify. Okay, so we've got the Mother of Pentacles. So that would be the Queen of Pentacles and the Rider-Waite. The Queen of Pentacles would be the Queen of the Earthly Realm. So she's well-resourced. She's about as well-resourced as she could be. She's got her fawn beside her here, and she has been able to, she represents fecundity, really. So she's got all of the knowledge of how to access the material world and use it to create her own fruition and fecundity. So whether that be in a financial sense, a monetary sense, or in terms of creating the next generation of your family, your body, or your projects, your creative endeavors, being able to harness resources and bring them into a creative fruition. We've got the Nine of Wands, it looks like here. Just want to make sure I'm catching the nuances of this deck. So Nine of Wands, strength, stamina, confidence. The 9 is nearing the end of the suit, which suggests a journey near completion. There can be weariness, doubt, fear, and the 9 is a call to rally your confidence and realize how far you've come. So take those last few steps and the hard work will start to pay off. Then we've got the Hanged Man. So if here we've got fruition, and here we've got rally your resources and just take those last few steps, rally your energy rather, wands would be more energy, then over here we've got the Hangman, and this bat is taking a nap. The Hangman is a signal to wait. I get frustrated when the Hangman comes up in my readings because I like to just move forward quickly, impulsively. But the Hangman is a sign. It's almost especially in the Rider-Waite with the legs in the figure 4. There's a nod to divine timing. So, that bat's not going out to hunt until it's the witching hour, the twilight time when the light's going down and it's not quite full night yet. It's going to wait for its moment. And then over here we've got Daughter of Swords. So that's the equivalent of the Page of Swords. So the pages are the energy of just kind of beginning to master the suit. And so the Daughter of Swords, I'm going to look for the write-up of the Daughter of Swords as I'm finding this book interesting with the daughters. They definitely have some distinctions from the pages in the Rider-Waite. Honest, insightful, can represent a young woman or a person who identifies with the young female energies. Honesty, insights, people value her frankness. She learns from keen observation. She never stops watching. This can become a burden, but she notices the details. She finds the things that could have been done better. And possible danger of becoming spiteful and judgmental. She's the watcher. She's the mental energy of the swords and discernment, keeping an eye, ensuring that the details are attended to. And so, just wondering how the lizard and the shadow fit in with all of this. Let's pull the next row of cards and see what we got. So we've got the Two of Wands, modifying that Mother of Pentacles. And the Two of Wands is the man looking out, holding a globe in his hand, looking out for the ships that might come in. I think I said that of the Three of Wands earlier, but that's the Two of Wands. So he's got his ships out and he's waiting for them to come in. He's looking ahead to his riches coming back to him when those ships come in. There could be great fortune, magnificence. There's also potential for suffering, disease, chagrin. Let's see what the Wild Unknown adds to that. Determination, direction. You're on your way to success. You've got a goal and you're pointing your efforts in that direction. There's an emphasis on the mind in this book, but I would associate the mind with swords, not with wands. The wands, to me, would be more the fiery energy of impulsivity and being moved by passions rather than consideration. So this Mother of Pentacles is well resourced to achieve fruition, and the Two of Wands suggests that she's on her way to doing that. She's at the beginning of that journey, but she's going to get here eventually. And on the way there might be some shadows. Maybe there's a fear of not getting there, and maybe this is where you want to be, pile 3. And this card is suggesting that you're at the beginning of that journey and you are going to get there. Maybe that's the shadow of fearing that you won't ever get to that goal. Whether that's the fruition of a project coming to its conclusion, actually finishing a project that can be momentous and can feel like it's never ever going to happen. Completing something major in your life, university degree, perhaps, starting a family, turning art into a professional career, starting any new venture, really. And so you're on your way with these 2 wands here. And then 9 of wands, so feeling like there's just, there's so many steps to getting there, and it's the energy of pushing through, just completing those last few steps. Modified over here by a little message of divine timing. Let's see what can serve pile 3 in taking those last few steps. What's the message for pile 3? Oh my goodness, the cards are just jumping out tonight. We'll put that one to the side and see what we've got here. It looks like the Hierophant. We'll put this one to the side for now. So the Hierophant, with this beautiful squawking raven holding the key and out in the storm, feathers all electrified. I like this guy. It's pretty cute. So the Hierophant is tradition, ceremony, conforming to sort of established ways of doing things, can be a little severe. Let's see what the Wild Unknown has to say about it. Mentor, seeking knowledge. Represents a mentor or teacher, signifies a hunger for knowledge, whether practical or spiritual. You've come as far as you can on your own. Now it's the time to deepen your practice. Join a class, go to a workshop. Don't be afraid of new experiences. A ceremony or ritual. Seeking out new experiences that can open your heart. And that's very different than the traditional Hierophant, which is more about possibly seeking out spiritual teachers. But it's more about observing traditions. Maybe the ritual would be the connector there. So rituals once upon a time would have been believed to, or at least in the archetype represented by the Hierophant, would have had to have been carried out with exactitude. Keep forgetting that you can't see these. Sorry about that. Here we go. I think maybe they could be a little lower. So rituals would need to be carried out with exactitude in order to achieve the magical effects they were intended to. And so perhaps this is sort of I'm getting a bit of a Sagittarius energy or a 9th house, higher learning feeling here. But with a bit of almost Virgo meticulousness, attention to detail. But that Wild Unknown is definitely suggesting heading out into the storm and, holding on to your key and braving that risk of electrocution in order to sort of be electrified into opening up. So perhaps there's in this energy of needing to take those last few steps, perhaps it's the energy is suggesting to seek out a mentor or a teacher to aid in taking those last few steps. Then, so from the divine timing of the Hangman, which is a pause, asking to wait, we've got the 7 of Wands. 7 Wands can mean defensiveness or boundaries. So if there's something here that is on the way, over here there's a little bit of a pause, a message to just hold off and just perhaps be mindful of boundaries, be mindful of defenses. Maybe that's the shadow. Maybe the pause here is happening, this Hangman. Maybe the man is hung or the bat is hung because of the defensiveness here. So it's possible that for some of you, there might be some boundaries are a little too strict that aren't serving anymore, that maybe did serve but aren't serving now and are just causing a bit of a delay in these plans and getting those last few steps taken care of. It's also possible that this is a message to take a little bit of a pause before going on to these last few steps. So maybe slow down and ask for that mentorship or that teaching, that help. And find that courage, find that inner strength, says the wild unknown. And focus on that one focal point. Let the others fall away. So focus on the goal and let everything else just fall to the wayside, because that's where you want to be heading. If the shadows are suggesting caution and fear, follow your internal fire. Follow your passion, and it will guide you through that pause when and as you're meant to. And the Daughter of Swords, the Queen of Discernment. Let's find out what's modifying her. We've got the Moon. So while the Page of Swords and the Moon might not seem to be terribly complementary energies, in this deck they certainly are, because I can see that owl flying through this forested sky. She might be perching right about there. And it very much feels like these two cards are aligned, very, very aligned. So if there's that quest for mentorship, that need to follow a passion, she is keeping a keen eye on the details and on what needs to happen next. And the traditional moon would suggest a potential for illusion or not seeing things clearly. But this gal can see in the night. She knows what she's doing. She knows what's up in the moon time. Let's see if the wild unknown has a more generous interpretation of the moon than the traditional. It does bother me that the Rider-Waite considers the moon illusion. I feel like there's a little bit of patriarchy infected in there. And in fact, the moon is the feminine, the divine feminine, I even feel uncomfortable saying feminine. I mean, like, these are the wise women all the way back, generations all the way back. You know the ones I'm talking about. And they're calling to you right here. And you're hearing their call because you've got the right eyes for seeing in these conditions. The moon, vivid dreams and fears. So if the moon is the wild unknown, if it's the shadows, we've got the lizard here who started out this reading knowing how to go into those shadows, how to seek out the shadows and go into dreams and know the future and make decisions from that place of discernment. And so there might be periods of anxiety, but this is where dreams are born. This is the place of mystery. And this card, these two cards together, are suggesting to me very much that you are going to find your way through that mystery, into the mystery, and be guided by it. And know by instinct, by focusing on that passion, how to navigate. That's actually a really beautiful reading. I had my doubts with the shadows of the lizard. But after the wild boar and then the fairly intense energies of the start of the first reading, Pile 3, I think you're finding your way through the darkness and turning those shadows into light, fecundity. You just gotta take those last few steps and find your guides, consult your guides. And I would say even those mentors, those teachers, they're in you, they're inside you. You don't have to go anywhere to find them. You know them. They're your ancestors and your guides. And all you have to do is call them in. Okay, let's pull. I feel like that might be complete, but the other two piles, I pulled a timing card for a bit of additional information from these astro cards. We'll pull one astro card, and if I feel the need to pull any more, I'll do that. Ceres, nurture. So Virgo was the card for this in one of the previous. You see here again the wheat and the harvest, the sickle to harvest. The scythe, perhaps. And so this is the card of harvesting the crops, the flowers, knowing when to harvest, knowing when to nurture. It's mother energy. There is definitely a note in there of knowing when to let go, when to let Persephone go explore the shadow realms on her own without needing to pull her back out of them, accepting that having her for 6 months of the year is perhaps enough, or at least is the compromise with letting go of attachment that all parents know well as their children grow up and go into lives of their own, even if those lives seem like they're shadowy from the parents' perspectives. Really, if you can have your child in the light half the time, then there's some kind of balance found there. And so we've got here the energy of nurturing, feeding, harvesting, feeding, preparing, giving, loving, and knowing when to go into those shadows and when to just be aware of them and let the ones we love find their own way through them. I'm going to pull a couple more cards because they were quite telling in the last two, and I don't want to shortchange you, pile 3. We've got, what have we got here? 7 of Wands. Looks like that one wants to come out. And Death. So I want to rush into saying that tarot death is not the same as material, real-world death. 6, did I say 7? 6 of Wands. So the 6 of Wands it's come up for me a couple of times today, and it was a card that I didn't have a lock on at the beginning of this day, and I'm starting to get it. So the 6 of Wands is the energy of coming home with having attained success, the victor triumphing, great news, the crown of hope, the crown of one's own desire. And so there's the success here. The Death card is about rebirth. It's about the end of a cycle and the beginning of a new cycle in tarot. And this crow looks like it might have gotten just a little too close to that lightning, dropped its key and got a little fried. There is definitely a humor. I don't know if it's the humor of the Wild Unknown author or if it's the humor of the universe here, having pulled these both out. Maybe there is a little bit of a note of caution, a little bit of temperance being urged by that Death card in seeking out that knowledge too aggressively or, with too much of a shock to the system. But there is very much a sense here of beginning again, moving into the next phase. And I think there's I want to say an intuitive knowing. I think very much with the Moon card, there's a sense of intuitively knowing. Even of letting go. I mean, the Death card is the shadow, going into the shadow in order to find what's there and begin the next cycle. You have to go into those shadows sometimes in order to get through and begin again and find what's meant for you, what's meant to come next for you. And I feel like there's guidance here. So maybe that guidance leads directly into beginning that next cycle. And, the harvest here as well supports that interpretation. And there is some suggestion of some great success here. Let's see if the Wild Unknown Kim Krantz has anything to add to that. Seems that I was not right about the Six of Wands. Maybe that's the Six of Swords. Six of Swords. Okay, so this is the mother in a boat. It's interesting. We've got mother energy here and here. This is the mother in a boat crossing what I envision as the river Styx. There's a ferryman who's transporting her, and she's got her child by her side, and they still have some swords in the boat, suggesting that they're not quite out of the rough waters, but they're heading out of the rough waters. I should have gotten that from this card. There's a rainbow on the horizon, but they're still in the shadows over here. So maybe the way out of these shadows is a bit of nurturing energy. And so red with the death card, that does suggest that this is lingering in the shadows, but there's definitely a new phase right around the corner, and I do think that intuition and that keen discernment will get you there. And sometimes it is by going into the shadows that we are able to reach the light, reach the next phase, the next turn of the wheel, the new cycle, which is suggested by the death card here. And with that, pile number 3, we will end your reading. This was a fairly intense inaugural reading, but I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. And on to the next. Bye.